USF Sarasota Manatee and USF system-wide is so proud to have Dr. Fawn Ngo, one of our associate professors of criminology. She's also one of our Faculty Research Award recipients, an outstanding professor chosen by student government, and she's received several Faculty Senate Excellence in Research Awards. And Gary Ernneus, I hope I pronounced that right, Gary.
Yes, you did.
He received a BA in criminology and a master's in criminal justice administration from USF SM. He was also the recipient of the 2016 Outstanding Undergraduate Research Award. And his first class with Dr. Ngo was the research methods class. And then he went on to get work with her, which they will explain a little bit more, on his master's programs and master's classes. I know you're all going to be inspired by this story, as our title says today, When There's a Will, There's a Way, a story about tenacity, humility, and triumph. And having Dr. Ngo and Gary with us tonight, thank you so much. And I'm going to turn the program over to Jessica.
Thank you so much, Anila. I know that my little name card says India, but I'm Jessica Brasseur. I am WLP's Staff Assistant. I have gotten to develop this program. This is our fourth week of being able to present to you a different speaker on a different topic. And it's kind of been my baby, so it's been awesome to get to cultivate and learn about so many of our members, and tonight is no exception. I'm very excited to present to you Dr. Fawn's and Gary's story. We met with them earlier this week and brought me to tears, so I'm excited that everybody kind of gets to share that story as well. Just a few reminders. If you haven't used Zoom before, I'll just point out a couple quick features that will be helpful. As Gary and Fawn are speaking, if you want to roll your mouse over to the top right side of your screen, you'll see a button that says Speaker View. That way, whoever is speaking, they will show up big on your screen. That way, you're not having to kind of look and see who is talking. You'll see either Fawn or Gary speaking. In addition, there is a chat feature. So if you roll your mouse down to the bottom of your screen, you'll see a little speech bubble that says chat. If you have any questions as the event is taking place that you don't want to forget about, you just want to jot them down, please feel free to use that feature. Or any comments or feedback, use that feature. It's awesome to be able to facilitate questions as the evening progresses. And then at the end of the evening, we'll go back through and see if we missed any questions going through. But without further ado, I would like to present Dr. Fawn Ngo and Gary Ernneus. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Jain, for the introduction. Thank you, Jessica. And even though India is not in the event yet, and thank you, India, and thank you, WLP, for allowing me and Gary the opportunity to be a part of your weekly leadership series. And good evening, everyone. So to start this evening event, Gary and I will speak for about half an hour. Then we'll be happy to take questions that you may have. And by the way, if you have similar stories or similar experience that you would like to share, we would love to hear them. So let me begin by sharing some background information about me and how I came to know Gary. I am an associate professor of criminology, and I have been with USF Sarasota Manatee for 12 years. I teach both undergraduate and graduate courses, and one of my favorite courses to teach is statistics. And I enjoy teaching statistics not because I am good at it, but because I struggled with this subject when I was a graduate student at the University of Maryland. But fortunately, I had excellent teachers who taught me how to enjoy and appreciate statistics. At USFSM, we do not require our undergraduate students to take statistics, but statistics is a required course for our master program in criminal justice. And therefore, a lot of our students, they struggle with statistics when they take my class. However, I somehow managed to help the students to complete my class, and primarily through spending a lot of time with them, explaining the materials, using different strategies, and helping them believe in themselves that they can master the subject. And I did that until the fall semester of 2017. So the week before classes begin, I receive an email informing me that I have a student with disability who is going to enroll in my class. And that student is Gary. I know Gary because Gary took research methods with me as an undergraduate. He is an excellent student. He's very bright, he writes very well, and he knows the criminal justice system very, very well. So because he was such a good undergraduate, I didn't think he would have any problems in my class. And the way I set up my statistic class is I divide the class into 3 sections. And within each section, there are weekly assignments, there is a practice exam, and there is an actual exam. And my policy is if a student fails the first exam, that student must meet with me weekly so that I can help the student complete the second and the third section. And Gary failed the first exam. So I reached out to him and he agreed to meet with me weekly. And I thought things were going well because every single time we meet, he seems like he was getting the materials, but he failed the second practice exam. So I sent him an email and said, Gary, don't take the second exam. Make an appointment to see me. And my plan was when we meet, I was going to tell him to drop the class and maybe consider finding another program that he does not have, that does not require him to take statistics. Okay. So let me stop right there and let Gary share with you how he became blind. And by the way, he was not born blind. And Gary, in addition to sharing with everyone what happened that caused you to lose your eyesight, could you also share with everyone why the digital textbook that was assigned to the class was not useful? And also, why were you so determined to receive a master's degree in criminal justice?
Yes, I would say good evening to everyone. It is my pleasure to be able to speak to you all. My background is started in graphic design, teaching, and led me to become a correctional officer in Miami-Dade County. Well, I loved the job. It was good. However, that job would change my life. One day, an inmate decided to throw hot liquid and burn my cornea, and I became blind. It was a life-changing moment for me. I thought about everything that could have happened. I was an independent guy. I loved to read. And here I am. I lost my vision. I couldn't work. I didn't know what to do. Contemplated suicide. But I was like, well, what would that would be the easier way out. Well, until I was sitting and listening to TV, and the governor of New York, David Paterson, came on TV, and I was like, and I heard that he's a blind person. I'm like, hold on. How is he blind and he's the governor of New York? Then he was appointed the governor of New York. From that moment, I decided to start rethinking and reinventing my life. So I went in retrospect, I said, well, what do I do? I like to read, I like to research, I like to write. So therefore, there's only one thing I could do. I went back to school. At the moment, I learned to run my own business. It's a vending machine business. You have a contract with the government down in South Florida, then moved to Daytona Beach. The same contract led me to move to Bradenton, where I have vending machines in most of the government buildings in the post offices in Manatee County and in Sarasota County. I was like, well, I cannot inspire people with my story. Let me go back to school. I just applied to USF SM. Then I received the acceptance letter. I was like, wow, that's amazing. Well, I heard I had to take a tour, virtual tour. I was like, whoa, how do I get to take a virtual tour where I can't see? And I said, well, let me listen. So I listened to the virtual tour. Then I went to school. And I got my in criminology because I love to do research. I want to know why people do the things they do, due to the fact that a criminal threw a hot liquid and burnt my cornea. I wanted to understand why, what happened. From there, I enrolled in research method. That's the first time I met Dr. Ngo. I was like, wow, this professor is a great professor. She's very passionate about the subject that she teaches. I was like, wow, that's my inspiration. Then from there, I worked with many professors in the criminal justice department, enrolled in undergrad, research, won second place, then moved to receiving an outstanding undergraduate research award. That was good, graduated, now moved on to the master's program. Now, the reason I decided to go to the master's program is to be able to do research and also to inspire other people to understand what does it feel for a disabled person when it comes to the criminal justice system or higher education, because we are very minimal when it comes to statistics. When you see disabled people, sometimes we give up. I said, I'm not the one I don't quit. So if I don't quit, let me keep moving. Passed most of my classes, or I would say all of them, until I enrolled in statistics. I was like, whoa, statistics. How do you get to do statistics when you cannot see? Statistics is not regular math. I remember numbers, but the symbols, I didn't even understand. Now my computer could not read anything when it came to statistics. It would read letters and numbers, no symbols. I would hear dot, dot, dot. Well, I couldn't pass the first test. I was getting frustrated a little bit, but quitting was not in me. When Dr. Ngo sent me the email, she explained it to me. While she was explaining the statistics to me, it made sense. However, making sense was not the same when my computer was reading it to me. I was like, wow, what am I going to do? Am I going to give up? I thought for a minute. Then I said, well, I became visually impaired. I did not give up in life. And the doctor invited me a second time. Then that moment, that's when everything changed. She had a tray filled with table salt. That's innovation. Then there, she drew the symbols, and I traced the symbols with my index fingers. And I remembered the symbols. By remembering the symbols, the name of I was able to pass the class and also obtain my master's degree in criminal justice administration. That same degree led me to be on the front page of news, the Sarasota Herald Tribune. It is not about me. When it comes to, you can't do it by yourself. Because had Dr. Ngo given up on me, maybe I would have felt like, you know what, this is not for me. But she did not give up on me. Especially right now, this is a trying time for everyone. We're all facing something that has changed our lives. However, it changed the life, it did not end it. Being blind did not end my life. All it did, give me a new way to live. And I want anyone listening right now whatever you're going through. It is just a new way to live. It is not the end of your life. Thank you.
Okay, so that's Gary's side of the story. Now let me share with you guys, okay? It's, you know, it's, I wish I had believed him at the beginning, but it didn't happen like that. So getting back to the meeting, I was planning when I meet with Gary, I was planning to tell him that, you know, drop the class because I don't think it's not gonna be possible for him to learn statistics. But when we met, it was as if he read my mind and he was telling me, and I would never forget, he said, I would do anything, Dr. Ngo, anything to pass your class. I felt guilty. I felt awful. I felt ashamed of myself. I'm sorry, because I almost turned my back on him. I almost gave up. I know I didn't do everything that I could have done to help him. And it was an easy way out for me. It was easy for me to say to him, Gary, you know, I'm sorry, I can't help you. And I couldn't do it. So I told him, I said, Gary, let me think of another way to see what I can do to help you. And that night, I couldn't sleep. I tossed and turned because basically I promised him that I would find a way to help him, but I had no idea. What can I do to help him? He explained to me he can't see when he took research method with me. At least the book will explain and read each chapter for him. But with the statistics book, the computer doesn't explain to him the graphs. The digital book does not explain to him the different symbols. So I did not know what to do. And that morning, I drove my daughter to school. And on the drive, she said to me, she asked me, she said, Mom, can we go to the beach this weekend? I want to build a sand castle. And at that very moment, the light bulb came on in my head. I said to myself, wait a minute. Yes, Gary cannot see, but he could touch. He could touch things that he can feel things that he touches. And that gave me an idea. So I went home and I found the biggest tray that I could find. And let me show you, the one that I have is still in my office. I didn't take it home. It's something similar to this, a big tray like this. And I brought several cans of table salt. Then I pour salt on the tray. And every week when I meet with Gary, I would take his fingers, I would draw the normal distribution, and I would show him where the mean of that distribution is. I show him where all the standard deviations, and I would draw the different symbols, like the summation symbol. I would draw the null hypothesis notation, the null hypothesis and the research hypothesis notation, and explain to him what those things mean. And because Gary fell behind, he ended up getting an incomplete for my class. And he and I worked together the following semester, whole spring semester, so he can pass every single assignment, every single practice exam, every single exam, so that he can pass my class. And in the spring semester of 2018, I had the honor of helping him walk across the stage to receive his master's degree while his family cheers on. And that was one of the greatest days in my life. Now, before I let Gary make concluding remarks, okay, I want to say a couple of things. Number one, the methods that I use with Gary worked for him, but it may not work for other blind students. And I want everybody to understand that, because I don't want anyone to get mad at me if they try it and it doesn't work, for their students. The reason why it works for Gary is because Gary was not born blind. He was able to see before, and he remembers the different graphs, and he also is familiar with working with graphs because he has an associate degree in graphic design. And then second thing, every USF campus, including the Sarasota Manatee campus, has an e-learning office. And I could have reached out to them for help, but I didn't. I don't know why, but I will tell everybody, if I have a disability student in my class again, the first thing I do, I'm gonna pick up the phone and call e-learning, because I just completed a quality review matter course, and I learned that there are a lot of resources, there are technology out there to help students with disabilities. I didn't utilize, those resources. So if you have a disability student in your class, know that there are help out there, that you don't have to do it alone like I did. And I'm really happy, that I had the opportunity to help Gary, but I could not have done it alone. It's him. I mean, he had the will, and his determination and his inspiring story got me to change my mind. I almost said no. I almost gave up. I almost said, I can't do it. But I am so happy I did. Gary, do you have any concluding remarks you want to share with everyone? Gary, we cannot hear you.
I would say thank you to you, Dr. Ngo. Thank you to USF, because even though I had the will, if there was not the resources that could have helped me, I would have given up. Because if there's no resource, your will is just a will. My will was only as strong as it was because there were resources. You and everybody else that was at USF SM enabled me to graduate and get my master's degree, and I'll be able to talk to other people and inspire them. Don't give up. Life is just a beginning. Every obstacle is a new beginning.
Gary, if I could, I would like to share with everyone how you were able to come to my office every week to meet with me. I didn't realize this. Gary is blind, so he cannot drive. But what I told him, you have to come and meet with me every week. So every week he got an Uber driver to bring him to campus. And then he would get up on the second floor. My office is located on the second floor. But keep in mind, he's blind. He cannot see the office numbers. So when it dawned on me, how did you find my office every week? I asked him. He told me he counts the number of steps that it takes from the front of the door to my office. And that's how he was able to find my office every week. Things like that, I didn't realize. Every week, and he never misses a single meeting. Whether it's rain or shine, he always show up on the time that we're supposed to meet so I can help him. So let's end our story there, and we would love to hear from everyone. If you have questions for me or Gary, or if you have similar stories or experiences that you're willing to share with us, we would love to hear them too.
Yes, thank you so much, Fawn and Gary, for sharing your story with us. I loved hearing it even a second time. So if anybody has any questions or comments, you can go ahead and put them in the comments section, or if you want to just turn your microphone on and share, that would be awesome.
What is Gary doing now?
Right now, I'm running a vending machine business. However, I'm writing a book about my life. It's pretty much detailing how I did not give up, because before I became blind, I battled with dyslexia in school. And that's what led me to love books. I discovered if I read a lot, it'd help my dyslexia. And that led me to love books. And now I'm writing about it. It's partially an inspirational book and also one that deals with kids with disabilities. It was facing dyslexia, and just to inspire them, to educate them. That's what I'm doing right now.
Wow, amazing. Congratulations. And you're truly an inspiration.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. Fawn, I have a question for you. How has this experience kind of affected how you operate in your classroom now? Since then, do you take into consideration, how do you operate now, focusing on all of these different students? Yes, go ahead.
Yeah. I have not had another student with disability since Gary, but now giving the now that USFSM has been we want to be more inclusive and all of that. One of the things that I have begun doing at the beginning of every class is to ask my students what is their preferred address. Like, do they prefer to be addressed as she, he, her, his, or they? That's one thing that I have started to do. But like I said, when completing the Quality Review Matter course taught me that there are a lot of resources out there for to work with students with disability. I were not aware of them, and if I have to do it all over again, I definitely will reach out to my e-learning office to help me. And maybe, Gary didn't have to take an incomplete, and he could have graduated and finished my class sooner. But it was a very rewarding experience. It really, it taught me how to be humble, because up until then, I believe I could teach statistics to anyone. And I've done that. It's like every single student who took my class eventually passed statistics, and they didn't hate it. They finished it and said, oh, it wasn't that bad. In fact, it was. Now I see why, we have to learn statistics. But I almost gave up on Gary. Like I say, looking back, I felt really bad. I feel guilty, and he doesn't understand. I felt awful for a while because I almost gave up on him. I was very close. Gary, I can't do this. This is too hard for me. And not only was I going to tell him to drop the class, I almost told him to find another program that does not require him to take statistics, because I didn't believe that he could do it. So yeah, well, I'm happy I didn't.
Thank you. We do have a question from Jane Roberts. She says, Fawn and Gary, what a story of creativity as well as perseverance. Did either of you come to a place during the process where it seemed too much of a challenge? Or once you began, did it go smoothly? Once you started working together on your coursework?
Well, I would say at a point I felt it was a challenge for me, being that I can't see, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't like to not know what I'm doing. Now I don't know what I'm doing. Here I am, I've passed all my classes. I did feel like, it was too much for me, being that I didn't know if I was going to pass it or not. And I'm glad I did not give up, because once you give up, you don't know what the future holds. You just say, winners never win. You have
Right.
to persevere.
Yes, it was, I felt frustrated at times because every week when we met, he got it. I mean, he's very bright. You know, I explained to him, he got it. But somehow, you know, he didn't do well on the weekly quizzes and then the practice exam. It was frustrating because I keep saying, what happened? I know he knows the materials. Why did he get it wrong? It was very frustrating. But I think once, you know, I used the tray with the salt and I draw the equation and I explain it to him. I think that helped tremendously because he was able to say, oh, that's what, you know, I'm supposed to do versus, you know, we meet and then I explain to him, like I say, oh, you're going to see this equation and this equation means this. I think telling him did not help, but helping him feel the things, the graphs, the symbol, you know, the equation, explaining to him, you know, the summation sign means that you do this, you sum everything. And then that parenthesis means that you work inside of that parenthesis outward. That finally makes sense. And that helped him to do better on the weekly assignments and the practice exams.
That's great. Thank you both. Does anyone have any other experiences or stories that they would like to share? I know everybody likes getting out of a meeting early.
Yeah, Gary, can you share with the group, okay, what was your experience like as an undergraduate? I mean, you attend face-to-face classes as an undergraduate. What was the reaction from the other students?
I would say my first semester was very rocky because I was in a class with students that were partially way younger than I was. And also I could not see. Professors were playing videos and slides. I didn't know what was going on. And my books took a little bit longer to be converted to electronics because the technology was not fully there. And the authors of the books did not give a lot of leeways for those books to be converted into electronics. It was a little bit rocky for me. However, I was then like halfway through my first year and I started to talk to people more. I realized that if I don't talk to anyone, people would not understand. I was able to open up to other students, talk to them, and I would ask questions more in class where I made myself more comfortable because sitting there with a dark shade in the back of the class because I had to be away from the light. People didn't know, people thought I was just being cool. No, I was blind. So therefore I had to assimilate myself to become inclusive. And when I made myself inclusive, everybody welcomed me, and I had many friends in that many classes. Students would just offer to help me. Professors would assign students to say, well, you know, would you mind taking some notes for Gary? And that I built a few friends just by going to USF SM. It was my first 2 years. It was a very great experience. Started rocky, but it ended up very well.
Thank you so much. I see Lily Harris has her hand raised, but I don't know if that was intentional or not. Lily, if you would like to share anything, please go ahead.
Yes, I actually had a question. Thank you all for sharing your story. My question was for you, Gary. If I'm hearing the story correctly, you became blind while you were working in corrections, and then after that experience, you went on to pursue your degree in criminal justice. So what made you continue in the criminal justice field after you had this traumatic experience working in a correctional facility?
Well, the reason I decided to continue criminal justice, I was like, well, I already have the certification, and what else would I do? And I wanted to understand the mentality of what happened to me, what caused the criminal to do what that person did, because something caused the person something caused people to commit crime. I wanted to understand. That's why I took criminology, to be able to do research, to understand what is the mentality, what caused people to commit crime. Because I was raised in Miami, crime was all around me. I went to correction because I was going to move forward to being investigated. I was like, following criminal justice and continuing would be the way, even though this traumatic experience happened to me. I've learned is that not because something bad happened to you means that you will quit. That would tell me the person forced me out. And I said, no, to understand more what happened. And that's why I went back to a criminal justice and criminology, because that would enable me to read and research more about different criminological theories. That's the reason why I went back to criminal justice.
That's great. Thank you for sharing. I will say, I don't think we're getting any more questions. So I'll do a last call for questions or stories or any experiences that you'd like to share. If you don't want to share anything kind of live with everybody, but you would still like to share the story, we would love if you would email us. And you can just email us at wlp@usf.edu. And last call for questions or comments. Doreen says, thank you very much for sharing your story. It's very inspirational. Thank you, Doreen. And then, and if we don't have any more, I would like to say thank you to everybody for spending some time with us in this time of our lives where it feels like free time is infinite. Thank you for choosing to spend some time with us and with our USF community. It means a lot to us. And I will go ahead and say good night, everybody. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.